Hello everyone, I'm Yanxue. I'm so glad to give this talk to introduce our work, Scalable Private Set Union with Stronger Security. This is a joint work with Shi-Feng, Hong-Sheng, Zhou, and Dawu. Okay, most people can understand the private set intersection, but recently I always meet people ask me what is private set union. So let's first see what is private set union. I will use PSU for short. In our work, we consider two-party PSU in semi-honest setting. We have a sender holding a set X and a receiver holding a set Y. After executing PSU, the sender cannot know anything, but the receiver can obtain the output, the union, but knows nothing about the intersection. So the key security of the PSU is to guarantee that we can't leak the intersection to the two parties. And also in our work, we don't hide the side sizes of the side X and the side Y. So after receiving the union, the receiver can infer the intersection cardinality from the union. Actually, this is a follow-up of our previous work at USENIX Security 2022, and the title is Shuffle-based Private Set Union Faster and More Secure. And I finished the previous talk in my dormitory, so here I put my photo here. Hope it can awaken your memories. Okay. In our previous work, we pointed out an issue incurred by the bucketing technique. What is bucketing technique? The bucketing technique means that the sender and the receiver will input the items into some buckets. So the set X and the set Y will be split into some disjoint subsets, like X1 to XB and Y1 to YB. And then the two parties will execute a small PSU for each pair of the subsets. And in our previous work, we found that the receiver may know which subsets have items in the intersection. As I mentioned before, it is not allowed in PSU. However, in our previous work, we just point out this issue but didn't figure out the essential reason behind the problem. So this work, we dive into this problem. Because this is a leakage issue, so the first thing we need to do is to check the proof according to the current PSU functionality. The current PSU functionality is really simple because the two parties just input the site, and the receiver just obtain the output. And we found that the proof is correct. So what does it mean? It means that the leakage is actually implied by the output. Maybe someone think, as long as the leakage is implied by the output, then maybe we don't need to care about it. Because if you obtain the output, then you must be able to get the leakage. However, we found that that's not true. Because we found that the protocols have two types. In type 1, the receiver can get the leakage only when the output is obtained, which means that before obtaining the output, the receiver cannot get any other information. However, in type 2, the receiver can get the leakage during the execution. And we call this during execution leakage. If the two types have the same influence, then we also don't need to care about it. However, we found that it's also not true. Because we found that the during execution leakage can empower the adversary. Next, I will use an example to explain how the during execution leakage can empower the adversary. We used the attack launched by Guo's work. This work also appeared at USENIX Security 2022 to explain it. This attack aims to attack the protocols that aim to hide intersection but leak intersection cardinality, like PSU. In their attack, the receiver, here is the adversary, needed to execute multiple instances with the holder holding the set X. But the adversary will use different inputs, here Y1 to Ym, and obtain the different output. After obtaining this different output, the adversary can infer whether some elements are in set X. And their work also proposed that the server can limit the number of executions. However, if the targeted protocol can leak the information during the execution, the adversary can leverage it. Because the adversary, once obtaining the leakage, the adversary can interrupt the execution and tell the holder of the set X. And this is because of the network issue, so we need to restart the execution again. And so if we just limit the number of execution, it's not enough. Maybe we need also to limit some interaction issue like this. And then the adversary can obtain more chances to execute. And so the adversary can obtain more information to infer the items in set X. Okay, we know that the during execution leakage can empower the adversary. So we investigate the current PSU protocols and functionality. And we found that only the additive homomorphic encryption-based PSU is type 1. But the current scalable symmetric key-based PSU are in the type 2. So they suffer from the during execution leakage. However, we found that the current PSU functionality cannot be used to distinguish between these two types. Our contributions are about the protocols and the functionality. Our first contribution is to achieve the type 1 PSU using symmetric key techniques. We first summarize the AHE-based PSU and the symmetric key-based PSU into the two design framework. As for the AHE-based PSU, we abstracted the process into a building block called encrypted GRPMT. And as for the symmetric key-based PSU, we abstracted into GRPMT and the OT. And we can see that in the symmetric key-based PSU, the receiver first needs to interact with the sender through the GRPMT to obtain the bits, then use these bits as the input to the OT to interact with the server again. However, in the AHE-based PSU, before obtaining this ciphertext, the receiver don't need to get any other information. So the AHE-based PSU doesn't suffer from the during execution leakage. However, we know that the AHE-based PSU is not efficient enough for it cannot be used for some big data set in the practice. So our key goal is to achieve the encrypted GRPMT by using some symmetric key techniques. To achieve this, we propose a new building block called batched ECRG. ECRG means inequality conditional randomness generation, which means that here the Ti and Ti prime, if they are the same, then the ECRG will generate the different randomness. However, if they are different, then we will generate the same randomness. And also we use PS is permute and sharing. And then we use the batched ECRG and PS to achieve the encrypted GRPMT. Okay, and this is our performance. Here's the DC70 is the AHE-based PSU, and the ZCL23 is the state-of-the-art PSU design. And we can see that compared to the DC70, our performance is much better. And the ZCL23 is the OT-based PSU, so it suffers from the during execution leakage. However, our performance is comparable to their work. And also, we have the contribution about the PSU functionalities. As I mentioned before, because the current PSU functionality cannot be used to distinguish with the two tags. So to solve this problem, we define a new enhanced PSU functionality. We add a finished notification to the sender. And actually it is reasonable because in the real world, the sender can actually know that the execution is finished. And after adding the finished notification, the simulator for the receiver cannot first obtain the output and use the information implied by the output to simulate the execution. Because once the simulator obtains the union, the output, then the sender can obtain the finished notification. So we adding the finished notification to help us to distinguish the two tags. And we also prove that the protocols suffering from the during execution leakage cannot achieve the enhanced PSU functionality. And because the current scalable PSU, most in the OT-based design framework, so we also define some relaxed PSU functionalities to abstract their security. And in these relaxed functionalities, they also have the finished notification, but we implicitly define the leakage. So the simulator can first get the leakage to simulate the execution, and then finally, the simulator obtains the output. And we also prove that the protocols suffering from the during execution leakage can achieve the relaxed PSU functionalities. Okay, that's all. Thank you. I'm glad to answer any questions, and I'm on the job market. If you are interested in my research, feel free to contact me, and this is my homepage. Yeah.